This is something that is bigger than me. This is something that needs to be said to the American public.
Elizabeth Warren is saying that we should break up Google. And I love her, but she's very misguided. That will not make it better, it'll make it worse, because now all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do.
And it's like...
Earlier this year, a Facebook insider exposed deboosting of conservatives on Facebook. That insider inspired someone at Pinterest to come to Project Veritas with his story. Last week, we released a report from the Pinterest insider Eric Cochran, detailing censorship of pro-life and Christian content.
The tech companies can't fight us all.
Today, we bring you a Google insider, a brave man who came forward and brought us a story that will scare you. A couple weeks before the Google insider came forward, Project Veritas secretly recorded with Jen Janai, a Google executive. Janai talks about making sure when people search for things through machine learning algorithms, Google's political agenda is always present.
We all got screwed over in 2016. Again, it wasn't just us, it was people got screwed over, the news media got screwed over, everybody got screwed over, so now we're rapidly being what happened there? How do we prevent it from happening again?
Right after Donald Trump won the election in 2016, the company did a complete 180 in what they thought was important.
Jen Janai is the head of responsible innovation at Google Global Affairs. She determines policy and ethics for machine learning, or artificial intelligence. What we've learned is that AI is increasingly what Google Search is all about.
The reason we launched our AI principles is because people were not putting that line in the sand, and they were not saying what is fair and what's equitable. So we're well, we are a big company, we're going to say it. Where my definition of fairness and bias specifically talks about historically marginalised communities, and that's who I care about. Communities who are in power and have traditionally been in power are not who I'm solving fairness for.
Our definition of fairness is one of those things that we thought would be obvious and everybody would agree to, and it won't. There are the same people who voted for the current president do not agree with our definition of fairness.
Fairness is a dog whistle. It does not mean what you think that it means, and you have to apply doublethink in order to understand what they're really saying. And what they're really saying about fairness is that they have to manipulate their search results so that it gives them their political agenda that they want. And so they have to rebias their algorithms so that they can get their agenda across. And fairness meaning whatever it is that they want to define as fair. You could actually think of fairness as unfair, because it's taking as input the clicks that people are making and then figuring out which signals are being generated from those clicks and which signals it wants to amplify and then also dampen.
Men can. And I see men can have babies, men can get pregnant, men can have periods, men can cook. Do most people search for that stuff, or what is the company doing internally?
People aren't searching for this. This is literally coming from source of truth databases that they've selected represent the truth and that they are pulling this information from. All these examples are part of the social justice narrative, right? And so the sources of truth that ML Fairness is selecting from to amplify are saying these keywords.
Project Veritas also received a trove of confidential documents from within Google. This document is about algorithmic unfairness. It reads, quote, "For example, imagine that a Google image query for CEOs shows predominantly men. Even if it were a factually accurate representation of the world, it would be algorithmic unfairness," unquote. In this document, it says, in some cases, it may be appropriate to take no action if the system accurately affects current reality, while in other cases, it may be desirable to consider how we might help society reach a more fair and equitable state via product intervention. What do they mean by that?
So what they want to do is they want to act as gatekeepers between the user and the content that they're trying to access. And so they're going to come in, they're going to filter the content, and they're going to say, actually, we don't want to give the user access to that information because it's going to create an outcome that's undesirable to us.
So this was an internal-only Google document which says the goal is to establish, quote, a single point of truth for definition of news across Google products, unquote. What does this mean?
When they mean single point of truth, what they mean is alignment with the narrative. And so the narrative is manufactured by establishment players, and what they're looking to do is they're looking to boost authoritative content.
Accusations on around the fairness is that we're unfair to conservatives because we are choosing what we define as credible news sources, and those news sources don't necessarily overlap with conservative sources, and so we're getting accusations on fair from one side.
Training data are collected and classified. Algorithms are programmed. Media are filtered, ranked, aggregated, and generated. People, like us, are programmed. Sounds like social engineering, not search querying. Politicians on both sides of the aisle debating whether antitrust legislation or other regulations and controls are in order.
We got called in front of Congress multiple times and we've not shown up because we were like, we just know they're going to just attack us. Like, we're not going to change our response, we're not going to change our mind. There's no point in just sitting there being attacked for something that we know we're not going to change. Like, they can pressure us, but we're not changing. But we also have to be aware of what they're doing and what they're accusing us of. Like I said, like, they could just, like Elizabeth Warren, even I love her, but she's also saying, like, you just have to break up Google and that will solve everything.
You have to what?
Elizabeth Warren is saying that we should break up Google. And, like, I love her, but she's very misguided. Like, that will not make it better, it'll make it worse, because now all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do.
That will not make it better, it'll make it worse, because now all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do this. They are a highly biased political machine that is bent on never letting somebody like Donald Trump come to power again.
2020 is certainly on top of now my old organization, Trust and Safety, is top of mind. They've been working on it since 2016 to make sure we're ready for 2020. So training our algorithms, like if 2016 happened again, would the outcome be different?
It's unclear what Janai is exactly referring to, but Google's political agenda is undeniable. Google is protected by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. It says, quote, "No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider," unquote. Meaning, Google is not liable for any content on their platform. What's scary about this to you?
What's scary is that Google's deciding what's important and what's not important. They are going through and they're effectively deleting conversations from the national narrative. It reminds me of a book called 1984, and that should have been a warning. 1984 should not be a user manual on how to run society. And Google is falling directly into that trap, where they're deciding what gets read, what gets consumed, what people are able to click on, what appears. It reminds me a lot of fascism. Like, it's not just about burning books. When videos get pulled off of a platform, that's also a form of censorship. I've been living this for, years. And so, it's like, yeah, that's what it is. And for other people, it's shocking. But for me, it's like, this is why I'm coming forward. Because it is shocking. People have no idea that it's happening. And they still think that Google is an objective source of information, and it's not.
Are you afraid?
I am afraid. I was more afraid, but I had a lot of difficulty with the concept of, my life ending because of this. But I imagine what the other world would look like, and it's not a place that I'd want to live in.